Hello there everyone, it's Carol again. Welcome back to Rock Your Journal. I thought I would show you first of all the how my journal's looking. So as you can see now, I've added some fabric tabs. I always say tags and I mean tabs. So I've added some fabric tabs onto the edges of some of my papers. Now all I've done is I've cut small pieces of fabric, wrapped it around the page, and I've just stapled it in place. What I could do is I could add some buttons on, but I'm going to wait until I've done the work that I need to do on my pages so that I can determine what colour buttons I put on. Because one of the problems with stapling is that this back side here where the staples curl over, they can get a little bit rough sometimes and you can catch your fingers on them. So at least if I put a button or a sticky or something on the back of those, it just helps to protect your fingers a little bit. So that's what I've done on those. So let's get down to the first prompt for February the 1st. So the prompt is going to be number your pages but randomly. And I'm going to add the date here. So for us in the UK, it's the 1st of the 2nd, 21. Whereas in America, it's 2/1/21. So I'm going to ink that up. And then I'll be able to stick this in my book on the cover next to that first one. And the other thing that I did as well was I just drew some small circles and a diagonal line across so it looks a little bit like a screw head. And then I can pop a little bit of glue on that one there and just slightly slide it underneath that first one. So then it means that I can flip this back so that I can have a look at the whole of the prompt if I need to. So that's going to be my first prompt. Now I'm actually going to leave this first page completely blank. And as we know, there are 28 days in February. So when it comes to numbering the pages, because I've used 10 sheets of paper, I've actually got 40 pages to number, minus this one. So that's 39 pages to number, which is more than the 28 days that I'm going to need. So there'll be the odd one or two where I will count that as a single page. So it will be a double spread. Okay, so this could be page number 1, and then that could be page number 2, that could be page number 3, and then that could be page number 4. All right, so I hope that that makes sense. Now I have a choice of how I can number each of my pages, so I'll just go and get those bits out to show you, and then obviously then you can use your own interpretation of how you're going to number them. So I've got a selection of different things that I could number each of my pages with. So for instance, in this box here, I've got these little stamps that have got the numbers in as well as the alphabet, so I could use those. I've also got this set of stamps which are much smaller numbers. If I get one out to show you. So these are much smaller and look like typewriter print. I've also got some peel-offs. So I could use the peel-offs. So I've got these gold ones, I've got these silver ones, and then I've got these really quite big, bright, jazzy blue ones. these are going to be too big for this particular journal, but you know, I could use those. I've also got this Tim Holtz Alterations die cuts called Vintage Market, and it's got the full alphabet on there, but down here it's got the numbers as well. So I'm kind of thinking that I might use a mixture between the die cuts and the stamps. So that's what I think that I'm going to do, rather than using the same right the way throughout. Of course, you could also write your own numbers by hand, or you could type them up on a computer and print them off and use them that way. You might not be able to see it very well, but I've actually got this piece of food colouring dyed green paper. So I'm going to cut my numbers out of that. So I've folded the paper up. I'm just going to cut 2 layers out, because I think that if I fold it up again and try and cut 4 out, I might be pushing it somewhat. So I'm going to sit that then on my die, and in fact I might as well get part of the letters in as well, because I can use those for something else. And I'm going to run that through my die cutting machine, so I'll be back in a moment to show you what I've come up with. So I've punched out some numbers. I haven't punched loads out. I've punched out about 4 sets of 1 to 0. Now, one of the problems that you'll find with doing the punch numbers like this is obviously when it comes to like 12, 20, 21, 22, 20, you're going to need loads of 2s. And I don't want to cut that many numbers out. So because I'm going to be placing them randomly in my book, it means that I can go up to number 19, let's say, or I might even struggle with all the 1s that I'm going to need. So I'll go up as far as I can with the numbers that I've got punched out, and then I'll swap over to the stamp set. And as I say, because they're going in here randomly, it means that they'll all be mixed up and not in any kind of sort of order. Whereas if I was just using purely the stamps, or writing them, or typing them up on the computer and printing them off, I could have the full set of numbers. But I want to use these die cut pieces. Now, because they're such a pale green, if I just show you, if I put it on the page as it is, and I'm just going to put it in the middle so that you can see it, it's really pale and insipid. But I've punched out a circle here, and if I put that on the circle, you can now see the number a lot better. Of course, the next thing is, where then am I going to place all my numbers? Am I going to put them in random positions, or am I going to choose the same position right the way throughout? So I could number each one in the middle, to the left, and then to the right, to the left, to the left, or up at the top, and again to the left. I could even add them on top of that tab there. You know, there's all sorts of different places, and I need to decide where they're going to go. Also, if I'm going to use this circle, I could ink up the edges of it and draw some lines on it, but I'll show you as we're going to go along. So let's start off with my number 1. And I'm actually for this going to use my art glitter glue, because I've got this fine pointed nib on the end. So it means that, and if I use my new tweezers, I can hold, if I can see what I'm doing, I can hold that number, and then I can put some glue. Oh, there we go. I can put some glue on the back. And then I can flip it over and stick it on there. And in fact, I'll do this one again in a minute. I'll use this as my example, because some liquid came out of the bottle and it's actually stained the number 1. But then I can ink up around the edge, and then if I get one of my pens, I can draw a faux stitch line all the way around that circle. Yeah, I'll definitely be redoing this. It's not quite right, but at least it gives you the idea. You could even do it as a swing tag. So if you put it at the top up there, you could actually add a whatchamacallit, a brad. You could put a brad in the top, so then you could swing that out of the way, so then you've got your full page to do what you want to do, and then you can swing that back down on the top. Or you could do your whole page and then stick it on top, so you could paper clip it in place in the meantime. But at least that gives you some different ideas of what you can do with your numbering system. And then I would choose another random page and put the next number on. So let's say I was going to call this one number 2. Right, let's do it, pretend on that side. Number 2 could then go on that top bit up there. So that whole of that could be number 2, or you could put it towards the centre, so then it shows that that's number 2. And I would keep going with these die cut numbers until I've used them up what I can, and then I'll revert to the stamps. And of course then I would need to choose what colour I'm going to do my stamp. And I would probably, because this is in a green, I would probably use my peeled paint distressing to stamp the other numbers up. The other thing that I would do as well is, because I don't want to mess my page up, and I have been known to do that when I've been stamping, is again, I could stamp onto the piece of card and then punch out the circle, so that I knew then that the number was going to be in the centre. So if I just do an example of that, and I'll just use one of these as the example. So if I stamped up a number 8, make sure that I've got plenty of ink on. I think that's covered, but I can't see properly. And then I could stamp it on the card. You watch, this will be a totally rubbish stamp now, because as I say, I'm not the hottest at stamping. Yeah, it's not printed it out very well. It wants more ink on it. But then I could get my circle punch, place it on upside down, and then I know then that it's centralised, so that when I punch it out, I know that my number then is in the centre of the circle. So that's your prompt for the 1st of February 2021, is to number your pages, but randomly. And remember, we're not going to number this first page here. That's going to remain unnumbered. Okay, see you tomorrow everyone. Bye for now.